Hey guys, Jay here, and as you can see on the screen, I am back again in the simulacrum. This time testing out the Chaos Damage Over Time bunch of skills, right? The bundle, the starter pack of Chaos Damage Over Time, and I am doing it in the simulacrum, and I'm fighting Kosis. You can, see the life bar, right? So right now we are having roughly, I would say 60%, right? This time on a jugg, so just remember that I have no damage from Ascendancy from the Juggernaut. 100% none. And let's see the damage. Actually pretty respectable. I mean, it's not the best in the world, obviously. It's chaos damage over time, but Detonate Death Generation is confirmed to be nerfed hard next league. They removed the Spectre Bank from the usage of Detonate Death of Chain Reaction, Volatile Death, any corpse skill, basically. Also, they reduced the level of corpses that you can spawn on a level 20, 21 Desecrate from 100 to 80. Unearthed also got hit with the reduced to level 70. So yeah. Sad. Well, we are fighting the new candidate for this kind of Casper and Stun archetype. I have tested the physical damage over time, right? And this one is the chaos damage over time. Because damage over time actually have pretty consistent damage uptime compared to just hit base in situation like this. For example, when we fight freaking Kosis over here, right? It takes a while, but at least it is enough damage in order to kill Kosis. The thing is, okay, sorry, I will go D&D. The thing is, in this version of the game, 3.24, we are still on 3.24. Compared to 3.25, I've seen the patch notes. All of the chaos skill damage are buffed by like anywhere from 10 to 30%. So all the damage we have here is going to be improved. And also, just by the way, this bow is just not perfect. We can easily get a perfect bow, but I am too lazy to even craft it because I didn't even get the +2 to support gem level craft unlocked. I bought a bunch of Cane of Kulamaks and I unveiled them all some way somehow after 5 or 6 of them, which are all was available that I can buy on the market. I didn't have that, so I just slap in increased damage over time here. If it is 2 level to support a gem, and we can recolor the bow into 1 additional red gem, right? So you can potentially use some power on it, and the potential for damage is a little bit higher. That is what I want to say, right? So yeah, the bow can be improved. Why do I use a bow in this setup? Well, the bow can have like all the stat that we need to scale chaos damage over time, because bow does have a chaos damage over time archetype to it, right? If we use a staff, we will have a 6-link, but we will not have a quiver, basically. A quiver is a additional gear slot that you can have more stat on it, more life, more resistances. Even in this case, I craft more armor on it. So they have changed the quiver to not have like general damage over time multiplier on chaos or things like that. They are exclusively to bows attack and bows now, so we can only get defensive stat on it. But defensive stat is still very good stat, right? Defensive stat and use the bow. And yeah, I think the bow is probably the best weapon of choice. Bows and a quiver is probably best for this because you still have 6 socket. You have all the offensive stat on the bow, and you also have the defensive stat on the quiver. If you go for one-handed and shield, you lose a 6-linked. And in this kind of setup, a 6-linked is super valuable. I am testing out this one with Soulrend and Spiral. You can use normal Soulrend early on, but Soulrend and Spiral give not more damage, but more coverage. So the clear is smoother, the farm is faster, basically. Right? As you can see here, it's just shoot projectiles everywhere. And yeah. Very cool, right? All the sources of chaos damage over time that I am using in this current setup is, I'm going through them one by one. Soulrend and Spiral. The cast when stun is obviously linked to all of them, and life tap is obviously as well. So just some chaos or damage over time support linked here is going to be good. Soulrend and Spiral. If I had to replace one gem slot for Empower, it's going to be the Swift Affliction, because Swift Affliction does reduce the duration. So it's a slightly counter synergy there. We want the duration. The duration is also damage uptime, so Empower is going to be better. The next source of damage is Essence Drain. I am using it on a Death's Oath chest as well. This is a very high armor chest, right? It does have Death's Aura, which is a skill that is exclusive to this body armor. And it is this thing over here, Death's Aura. It does give a consistent 100% uptime amount of damage for chaos per second. The number here is going to be magnified by whatever amount of increased aura effect that you have. And in this build, I am currently pathing like this, right? So I have aura effect here, aura effect here. Very simple stuff. Still, the bare skeleton of the skill tree is still the same, but we are grabbing the chaos things on the way. I'm not even using all the jewel socket that I can, right? So we cut this section and we just go up here and get this stuff in here, right? So basically, it's not optimized and the damage is already pretty good. I think this can potentially be a good setup. I would like to say from the patch note, I think that potentially we can have a different kind of setup for tank build that do not need to press any button to deal damage, which is retaliation. I sincerely hope, I have so much hope that it is going to function exactly the same way as the counter skills before. The Reckoning, the Vengeance, and the Riposte, which when we meet the condition to trigger the skill, it will trigger. If when we meet the trigger condition of the skill, it just enables the ability for us to press the button and use the skill, that is going to be lame in my opinion. That is going to be lame. From what I see from the showcase that they do on the GG live stream, I'm afraid that is the case. If that is the case, it's not viable for this specific kind of build archetype. And we got to stick to spells, sadly. And probably, so far, Herald of Agony is underwhelming in terms of damage. I think we can improve it, but it is underwhelming in terms of damage. Next thing is the physical damage over time, which is basically untouched in the patch note. It's doing, I think, well enough with the changes that we have in the 3.25, which the most significant one I would say is endurance charges in terms of defense for characters. So we can have the access to endurance charge damage mitigation for elemental damage on all classes, and that is super big actually. And this, by the way, if you didn't notice, the chest place here that I am using to tank the simulacrum here is it's not a defensive chest whatsoever. It doesn't have any special thing. It has just armor, but it doesn't have like special conversion or special like defensive modifier like fourth vows, doppelganger's guys. Those have very special things that defensively enhance your character This doesn't. Which means we can survive with less damage conversion anyway. So, hey, worst case scenario, in the next setup, we can just ditch the Death Oath. If we are not tanky enough, just slap in a Cloak of Flame again. I didn't see it get nerfed, maybe I missed it, but Cloak of Flame is just gonna be as viable. Or you can also use like, I would say Lightning Coil, any kind of like defensive chest, like, and you'll be okay, right? So in terms of tankiness, the build is fine. Even though we have a very heavy hit on the healing capability of Defiance of Destiny, but I think I have tested enough setup, including the first period of 3.24, which the Defiance of Destiny was super fucking expensive. And we found a way to just use another amulet that just basically give life, and we get recovery in some other forms, from life on hit, with Watcher's Eye, or with Shaper Ring, with life on hit roll, and those kind of things, right? So for recovery, I think with enough mitigation and enough recovery, we will not be missing the Defiance of Destiny. It is surely super strong at the moment, but with the nerf, with it being reduced to maximum roll of 20% missing unreserved life, if you get 20% quality there, you will have up to 24%. That is 1% off from the minimum roll that we have right now without the catalyst, which is still, by the way, enough to use. So if it is cheap, it's still an option. It's 24% if you can quality it up. It is 20% if not. If it's cheap, just use it. It will still be very good. Don't worry about it, right? At the top end, obviously it is weaker, but it's still very strong because mechanically it is the only thing that heals your character in before every single hit. And that is super valuable, right? So don't worry about that one. Anyway, back to the damage. Basically, the two active skill for mainly for damage is I'm using Soulrend and Spiral and Essence Drain. I tried Essence Drain of Desperation, but it's just drained so much life from our character. Insane. It does have a lot more damage, like double, more than double the damage. But it removes your life and energy shield by 0.3% of the debuff damage, which is the damage over time. And if that damage number is multiple 100k, 0.3% of that is already a few K damage just removed from your life. You cannot mitigate it by any means. That is impossible to do, right? So Essence Drain, we can use a normal one here. Mostly Soulrend and Spiral is doing a lot of heavy lifting in clearing, but we are using Essence Drain here. I'm not sure if we need Contagion, because from what I see so far, Soulrend and Spiral is taking care of all the clearing that we need, so maybe we don't even need Contagion. Contagion is just used to spread Essence Drain so we have more clear. But if this thing is more than enough to just clear the whole screen, we don't even need this one. So we can have another 4 links for whatever utility or different additional setup that we can add to the build, right? The rest of the build is the same pretty much. Just get stat, armor, resistant on the gear, nothing special. I'm having 2 curses here, life tap and cast stun, obviously, right? So despair, obvious curse for chaos damage, and punishment, obvious curse for any damage because it applies for any damage, as long as we get the enemies to below 50% health. This will apply 60% increased damage taken. Super strong. And also it debilitate the enemies, which makes them deal 20%, 10% less damage. The Enlighten here is linked to Determination, which is probably going to be removed next patch. Next patch, we are going to have way more armor just from the base armors items, So Determination is nerfed. Maybe if we can fit it in, less additional armor, but it still have like a more multiplier to armor. So if we can fit it in, maybe it's still good, but maybe it's not that necessary anymore. Petrified Blood for two purposes. One is for some additional mitigation. Second is synergy really well with this if you reserve it on mana, so your unreserved life is still a full unreserved pool. And then also in order to keep ourselves being on low life, so we get 30% more spell damage on low life from Pain Attunement. We need this because this is different from Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction, which is what we used to do. Detonate Dead of Chain Reaction. The main damage, the majority of the damage, is the corpse explosion, and that corpse explosion damage is not considered to be a spell. So we are not benefiting a lot from it, but in this case we do, because all the damage over time, all the damage that we have on all our spells here are just spell damage. So Pain Attunement is a no-brainer, right? And yeah, Malevolence for damage over time scaling, obviously. So yeah, this is the setup. It performs pretty well, surprisingly well, more than I thought. So yeah, maybe there is hope somewhere. I will continue to test different setup, more setup, so maybe we can find the best one before the start of next league. I would say there's not that much of a shakeup in terms of endgame build for spells. They nerfed the majority of the nerfs to all the spells that we are having in the game is directly toward the low level leveling part of it. So yeah, stay tuned for more testing. I know if you are following me in this channel, probably you are interested in the AFK build, because eventually we'll all get old. Eventually we'll all get tired of clicking so much in a genre that is supposed to be a lot of clicking and pressing buttons. So stay tuned for more AFK build updates in the future. Peace. By the way, pray for Rehabilitate to be something viable, because if it is viable, it'll be so much easier to build. Honestly, super easy to build compared to Caswinstein, with a lot of hoops that we need to basically run around. And also, there is the if the new retaliate skill gems are auto trigger like the counter skills before. There's an idea that has been thrown to me by Wams, one of my mods, and yes, I do have a stream, link in the description, that we can potentially go CI and abuse the new block stuff from the Gladiator. The Gladiator, I did not talk about it like in depth in the previous video. I will probably make like a separated video like analyzing the Gladiator, because it's probably going to be my league start plan on the Gladiator, some sort of bleed build. But the block chance is lucky. It's super massive actually. Before, in order to have like effectively 100% block chance, right, you need to actually get a lot of maximum block. It is achievable, but it's super high investment, and yeah, it's just very hard to get. A lot of corruption required, and a lot of traveling on the skill required as well. So right now, especially for softcore, if you are okay with dying once in a like very long time, right, lucky chance to block is super good, because the block chance by default is capped at 75%, and you cannot increase it with the cap without like investing into the cap itself. But just with the lucky block chance. Effectively, that's already 100%. So basically, that one ascendancy is giving all the extra block chance that we are having, on top of giving a lot of block chance itself. Well, anyway, that is enough of a rant. There will be more videos to come, a lot more videos before the league start. We have 1 week from now to test out a lot of things, and also theory crafting. If you have anything interesting, any interesting idea you want to have, you know, my take on it, or just want to share, then feel free. Leave it in the comment section, and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. It does help me greatly. It has been long enough. I want to end the video right here, and peace. Stay hype. Lock the fuck in. This is good league.